the Sunday crew. Geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate. Science fiction on a screen so bright. Old classics and the new delights. The unapologetic geek will lead the way, with facts and fun to fill your day. Discussing every detail, every frame, from the eerie to the loud and the zane. Gig along with all that's great. Those Sunday vibes you can't debate. Tug along with the Sunday crew. Geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate.
Hello, and welcome to Tug Chat.
Ooh.
Thrash is looking mighty skeptical.
Oh,
yeah. He was frozen.
Yeah, he was like, let me test the poses. I was confused. Well,
yeah, I can't do that because I got this stupid thing that like moves in the background, so I can't freeze.
Oh yeah,
I have to cover it with my head.
Well, I'm ADHD, so I don't freeze for anything. So there you
go. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about the Jim Henson movies from the 80s that may have scarred us as children, may not have. I don't know.
A little bit, maybe.
Missed it as a kid, so no scars there.
It's funny. I watched. I had to watch The Dark Crystal by myself because my wife won't watch it. She thinks it's way too freaky for her. But I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to watch Labyrinth without her because she loves Labyrinth.
Yeah, David Bowie's pants are awesome.
Yeah. We even watched a bunch of the special features, and if you want to start with talking about that bulge, it was probably intentional.
Middle-aged man seeks 15-year-old girl. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, storyline of the century, right? Whatever.
There is an undercurrent of ew in that movie.
There is.
Well, I think
going
it is
on there.
From watching the special features, I think it is 100% intentional. It's all about a woman trying to find herself in like an adult male figure, like awakening something in her that she's scared of and doesn't like, and she's learning that is not right yet.
It's definitely not right.
Yeah,
it's awkward nonetheless. You know,
it's very awkward.
But you know what my favorite part of that movie is? Absolute favorite part. It's all about me because I'm Sarah. See, who knew?
Yep.
Except for minus the pants, that didn't happen. That's just somebody's took liberties for the movie. That didn't happen. I swear.
Okay. But let's start as always by saying hi to the people in the chat. We got Danny in the chat.
South Carolina. I've heard about that.
I had a feeling that he wouldn't approve of these movies, which is why I didn't have him on the panel.
I heard he didn't.
Yes, you would be correct.
It was good, Gary. Thank you.
I want to say hi to Snarky. She's here as well.
Snarky. Yeah.
As is Gary. And let's
Gary
see. Tracy is here. She's always.
Epic.
She is epic. She's going to be on next week to talk about songs from movies. So she and Chance wanted to talk about that next week.
Dude, one of the best movies ever is Paint Your Wagon. Oh my gosh. He's Clint Eastwood singing? That's awesome.
Let's see. Just Carowin is here. Texas Knight is here. And Vim Vanderstraten, as always. Always good to see you guys.
Skilly was in my chat. Hi, Skilly, too. Forgot.
Oh, yep. And, of course, channel member Indy Spoats, my go-to fact checker.
Who is not AI, most likely.
Oh, he's definitely AI. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to be nice. We'll do that again. Sorry.
He doesn't have feelings. He's AI. You don't have to be nice to him.
Oh. Well, apparently you do. Snarky was teaching me that she learned that if you say please and thank you and stuff like that to the AI, it cooperates more. I was trying to make something the other day and it wouldn't cooperate. I'm like, can you do a thing or something? And it just finally did it. I'm like, okay, making a meme out of this. I had to yell at it.
So if David said, open the pod bay door, Please, Hal would have done it.
Maybe Hal would have done it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would have been like, "Oh, I'm right on that. Look, I'll even space you out there myself or something." It'd have been more helpful. So yeah.
And last but not least, hi Lance. Good to see you again.
What's up, Lance?
Okay, so let's go ahead and start in order. We'll talk about the Dark Crystal first because it came out first.
Yay!
And I watched it first, so
I had to because I saw them in the theaters.
Well,
wow. I saw Labyrinth in the theater, I think, but I was really young. So.
I was just you'd have been little.
Yeah, I was like 7 or 8, I think, maybe.
Oh wow!
I don't know what year was that. Let me look it up.
86.
86. So yeah, I was about 7 or 8. Yeah. Okay, so Dark Crystal. We'll start there. I did not see that in the theater because I was definitely too young. Because that was like 82 or 83, 82.
82.
Wow. See, I did not do my homework.
I was just born in 82, so there was no way I went and saw it. Promise you.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe your mom went and saw it in theater, and you kind of absorbed it through,
No, because
in utero there.
Stick.
Yeah, my mom, when she was pregnant with me, saw Alien in the movie theater. So
that explains everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. Now it all makes sense.
So when you emerged, did you like pop out, or did you?
I thought you came out through the chest.
Well, geek culture.
You were like the V baby.
Yeah. Geek culture 101. You're younger than I am, so I was just born. Yeah, you most likely did not see him in theaters either.
Yep. He says he wasn't born until 83. So yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. He wants to, he keeps me, he makes me feel old now. I'm not the youngest one on my panel team, but you know how awesome that is? That's awesome. Thank you. I like being older. It's crazy, I know. I worked hard to get that far.
But I mean,
yeah,
so
indeed.
Dark
Crystal's definitely a kid's movie, if you ask me. Like
it
under
is
12 kind of thing.
But it's as a true 80s kids movie, it's still a little dark and weird. Yeah. Like kids movies today are so sanitized. You don't get that. You get like trolls.
Oh yeah, I
dark,
watched Witches back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
it's
times.
dark, but it's not like super dark. I mean,
no,
it's
a
not
fantasy
horribly
world,
dark.
Yeah,
it involves a genocide.
It does involve a genocide.
It does involve a genocide. Yes.
Yeah, but did you see the way those things
and
walk?
Enslavement of
and the way the podlings get their souls sucked out of them and stuff.
They all shrink in, get old looking. Yeah,
but
they do all get their essence back in the end, and they all live.
Essence,
so it does have a happy ending.
But I don't think the dead race came back, so that's kind of sad. But hey, look,
did not come back.
Yeah, no.
And yeah, Vim, if you read the original Grimm's fairy tales, they're messed up, man.
Yeah.
They're grim.
I don't read.
So let's see where to start with Dark Crystal. Just the idea of making a Muppet movie that's not really a Muppet movie. I mean, Jim Henson deciding to do something serious with Muppets instead of just, entertaining kids, which is what the Muppets were originally. Well, not counting the really adult commercial skits he did before he actually started the whole Muppet Show thing.
That's true, Dan.
It's amazing that it got greenlit. Like I feel like a movie like this was a big gamble. It paid off, of course, but I can't imagine from a studio perspective that it was a safe bet at all. Because that was it took like 2 or 3 years.
It took 5 years to make the Dark Crystal.
Was it okay? Dark Crystal was 5 years. Okay, I only watched the special features on Labyrinth. Okay,
yeah. I watched the making of the Dark Crystal this morning. So
okay, good.
Oh wow!
It was riding the crest of that high fantasy sci-fi backdrop that was the late 70s, early 80s.
Right,
another world.
Exactly.
In the age of wonder.
So I think
you have Crystal Method stuck in your head now.
Yes, I do. That's exactly what's stuck in my head.
Well, all I know is you got to be careful when you Google a Dark Crystal, because if you just spell it wrong, like I did, you tend to send you to other crystal pages that you didn't look for. So be careful. Okay.
What were you saying, Pons? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I think that what had happened was, any studio. Well, first of all, it's Jim Henson. He's a known quantity.
True.
but I think any studio said, "Oh wow, another high fantasy. You know what? We'll give it a shot." And now this one of my favorite factoids about this film, and I'm sure you guys already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is it is the only full-length feature film to have no reference of Earth or humans. And I can already hear everybody going, "No, wait. No, trust me, I've researched this."
Yeah, there's no reference to people in it. Yeah.
Star Wars has people but no Earth. Lion King has Earth but no people. You'll get one or the other, but there's no movie at all that doesn't have both. So again, it's a high concept. It's incredibly imaginative and immersive. So I think the studio said, "You know what? How can this not work?"
But yeah, I think it's really clever too. And I also noticed that a lot of the voices were also in Labyrinth, so that was pretty cool.
Well, it's all like Jim Henson team.
Yeah,
you know
that originally. Originally the Skeksis didn't speak English in the film; they spoke a different language altogether.
Make it even
annoying.
And you had to try to interpret it based on the tone of voice and the movements and so on and so forth. And then they screened it for like a small group of kids or something like that who were all like, "What's going on?
What?
We don't understand."
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it was a little too highbrow for them. So they ended up overdubbing. Yeah, they ended up overdubbing all of that and adding dialogue to it. So.
Well, that's a good choice. Good job on that.
It was. Yeah.
That could have worked, but how should I put this? You have to really, really, really work at it. The mainstream audience is not going to like it. Like, for example, is it Hell in the Pacific with Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin? They don't translate Toshiro Mifune's Japanese. You have to infer. And you do get a feel for it, but you have to put more effort. It becomes almost interactive. And
it's extremely hard to pull off, especially for a kids movie.
Yeah. You have to have a lot more of experience in your own life and other reading stories or watching other movies to infer, draw from to infer what's going on when you can't understand the dialogue in a movie. It's
right.
Like, you have to kind of have those experiences already. And if you're talking about a movie for kids between the ages of 8 and 12, they don't have a whole lot of experiences to draw upon other than, Transformers.
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry, G.I. Joe, so on and so forth.
I also dropped both links to the movies that we're talking about in my chat. They're free on Tubi. So there you go.
Or not to be.
Oh, there you go.
That is the question.
I every single time I do that, I'm getting sick of me doing it.
Yep, he said.
I can't not do it. So.
8-bud files.
You have this tick, Thrash, and I don't mean to call attention to it because it's going to drive you crazy. But when you talk, sometimes you go, "But and I always think you're going to go, "But bum," every single time.
I may start doing that. And yes, I do that. It's because I'm engaging my brain into a voice which has already started. So
yeah.
I get that 100%.
Yeah.
It's how my mind works.
I tried for years to get rid of that Valley Girl that I keep saying, and I can't. I'm stuck with it for life.
Well, that's okay. I keep saying right to everything. And everybody's just like, "Can you stop saying right?" I'm like, "Right?" I'm sorry.
I went through a phase where instead of going, I would do the Woody Allen thing and just going to go, but now it looks more intellectual. But now you don't want to be associated with anything Woody Allen does, so I don't do that.
You got to be like the Chamberlain. You just got to walk around going. That Frank Oz Gonzo voice is very distracting. I mean, it's Gonzo as a Skeksis.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
It wasn't Skeksis.
Maybe he was.
Gonzo's a descendant. he's
definitely
not from this planet. He came from there.
Well, yeah, they had that movie where he came from someplace. I forgot where.
Muppets in Space. He was an alien.
Yeah. I didn't see that one. I just never got around to seeing it. It's
pretty good. Actually,
it was heavily on my mind.
And you want something crazy? They hint about that in the Muppet Show, in a Pigs in Space episode. They see this weird light in space, and the doctor says it looks like a motorcycle headlight. They laugh it off, and it turns out it's Gonzo riding his space motorcycle. So they hit the fact that he was a space entity way back then. I just want to... You see, this is what my mind does. I just
Connections makes connections.
Synapses all fire at once.
100 calls. Yeah.
Yes, Gonzo journalism, of course.
Yes.
I think Snarky is Gonzo, so be careful, guys.
Pigs in
Pretty sure she
space. Yes.
I always love pigs in space.
Oh, it was one of my favorite bits. I was bummed if they didn't have it on the episode. And Link Heartthrob, tell me he wasn't supposed to be a caricature of Ted Knight.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely.
She just said she's very Gonzo.
Yep.
I was right.
Of course.
Sorry, hopefully that wasn't secret anymore.
And yeah, going back to that opening narration, when I watched it, my son was in the room and he heard another world, another time. He said, "What? What?" He had no idea it was from this movie.
Did he think it was from Crystal Method as well?
Yeah, he thought it was just like a sound from the Crystal Method song. That's all he thought it was. He had no idea.
1,000 years ago, this land was green and good until the crystal cracked.
I like
One thing
how
I wanted to
bring
point
out
out
the shard.
about the Dark Crystal is, as far as an operational standpoint, and I thought this was really slick.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're puppets, and sometimes they're man in suit, and the transition is so flawless. You could spend the entire movie trying to watch where it kicks in. There's one scene when they're burning. I can't think of her name. I'm very sorry. When they're
Agra.
burning the astrologer's castle.
Agra. Yeah.
Yes, Agra.
Yeah.
Jem is at a distance and he's watching it and he goes, "Oh, bummer." And then he tries to crawl through a bush to get out, and on the other side is a man in suit. So you literally, it's like just like one of those old sleight of hand things where the puppet goes in and the man in suit comes out, and if you weren't really watching, you just think it was a Gelfling. It was just well done, and the whole movie is like that. Because I was watching it looking for the little flubs and I couldn't find them.
Yeah,
they did a really good job.
They did an amazing job. Like you know me, and you too, Thrash. We watch a lot of Toho movies, and with Godzilla, whenever Godzilla transfers to a hand puppet, it's painfully obvious.
And Rodan.
Well, I mean, I saw Pons walking behind you the other day, and you were like, "He's on his way to Tokyo," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, I mean, I wrote that comment like every time I saw it pop up in my feeds.
I see myself as more of an Anguillus.
There you go. It's about time he made a comeback in the movies. Anyway.
Yeah, have him fight Kong Enzel at the same time in what is called the world's most one-sided kaiju battle.
Exactly.
Speaking of the costumes in the Dark Crystal, the what were they called? The Gotham, the shell creatures. They look like big crabs running around.
Yeah, big
crab brains, whatever they go. Yeah, them.
Sand crabs.
Those costumes weighed 75 pounds apiece, and they were running around in.
Killer.
Or more. Yeah. Crazy.
Well, no wonder they were not very effective at their job.
They just kind of go every now
They
and
sure
again.
broke everybody's windows. They're like, "We can do this. Let's do that."
Yeah.
And then my house is on fire. To me. That's like, whoa.
Gartham. That's it. Not Gotham. Gartham. I knew it was something
You were
like
close.
that. Yeah, it's close.
The only part of that movie I don't like is those ones that keep pulling off their heads. That scene could have just been not there, and it would have been so good. I don't like that.
Are you talking about Labyrinth or are you talking about Dark Crystal?
Oh crap! Is that whatever? Same movie,
That was
isn't it?
Labyrinth. Yeah.
You know what?
Same
Same
movie.
movie. Whatever.
One of the things I really liked about the Dark Crystal was the scene, like the world was like like the way they created everything in the world, like the plants, the animals.
Immersive.
Yeah, it was immersive. That was the word I was
I like
searching
the guy
for
who
there.
Some in the rocks.
And it was
But,
all puppetry. Like you would see
yeah.
like things in the background, like foliage and stuff, and
Yep.
then it would suddenly move. You know, like
Yeah, it's
those
like
plants that would like recede.
They made plants that were like partially like alive or partially movable or whatever, you know. And that one scene in the swamp area at the beginning where the little thing comes running along and goes inside the cave and it goes, oh. It's like, no, isn't that interesting? It's like a giant Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
And not to beat it to death, some of that imagery is you see similar things in Brian Aldiss's Hot House.
Sure.
So I can't help but think Henson at least skimmed Hot House before he started doing the visual effects for Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly. I wouldn't put it past him.
I really wish they would just make Hot House. I don't know why they won't, particularly after Avatar, because they're remarkably similar. The main difference is the humanoids in Hot House are green instead of blue. Other than that, it's
What something I noticed in the making of is like the scenes where they had big expansive vistas that you're looking at, like the scene where what's the kid's name or whatever, the Jen.
Jen.
Yeah, sorry, Jen.
It's Jen with an N. I watched it with subtitles. That's the only reason I know.
Jen, where he's like on his way to Agra's. He's on the side of that cliff, you know, or not cliff, but, you know, the rocky area. It's like that scene only exists in reality up to like a third of it, and then the rest of it's a matte painting. You know,
there's a lot.
It's actually a seamless glass. It's over glass, but there's seamless. You can't even tell. You can't see the transition. It's like, damn, they did a really good job on that stuff. Yeah.
I also like there's a scene a little bit later where he first meets Fizzgig and the female Gelfling whose name I don't remember off the top of my head.
Kira.
Kira, right? Kira. Yeah. How can I forget Kira?
Knightley.
Come on. Right before he meets her, like he's in that swamp and there's all kinds of plants around him and they're all like moving or breathing or like flexing or turning to look at him, kind of stuff. It's really wild how much is going on in the scene.
Yeah. And it's one little scene too.
Yeah, it's only like
a lot of
3-second snippet.
When I saw so I saw that movie for the first time last year, right? And now when I watched that scene, it reminded me of an episode of the original series of Star Trek. You know, when all those, I think it was the apple or something like that, and all the plants and stuff are like, you know, killing people, and then there's like a cave. Well, anyways, it just reminded me of that because the plants are all moving and watching them. You know.
Okay.
Well, Star Trek. It's always about Star Trek.
It's amazing how much work they put into that little scene. That scene that's like 5 minutes long, you know, in the movie or whatever. But how much puppetry there was, how much they built and put into that scene. The whole thing was made, you know. None of it's like filmed out in the woods or anything like that. It's filmed on a sound set or soundstage, you know. Everything was built, you know. And all of that had to be moved and so on and so forth. There's tons and tons of work that went into that. And to think that today, that would all just been CG. Yeah. It just would have been all CG. It would be
awful, too.
Yeah, the whole thing. That whole movie would be CG, in fact. I mean, they wouldn't have actors in it.
That's
they just
what Netflix kind of did, yeah.
They need to
Funny
stop
you
that.
should mention that, actually. I was wondering if we were even going to talk about the Netflix limited series.
I didn't see it, so like I wasn't really going to talk too much about it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I remember so little of it.
That sounds like a great series.
I watched a few episodes and couldn't get my heart started. It wasn't the Dark Crystal.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not the same.
Well, you know what it was, and then one of the things I think that really bothered me was the Skeksis were so convincing as this sort of dying in their last days of power, this sort of limping to the barn, elder Machiavellian statesman, and in the miniseries they're just these sort of courtly fops, and I'm like, I do understand their civilization degraded. But it was so night and day that like I didn't find it entertaining. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that kind of sounds like, you know, Never Ending Story 2 and 3. Just don't watch them.
Didn't watch those either.
Yeah, no, it's kind of awful what you described. It's like this, but not at all. Well, I don't want to watch that.
Well, I mean, for people who are listening, Snarky and Vim Vanderstraten are opposing viewpoints. They actually like this TV series. So
good for them.
Bring
And
I
comfort.
didn't even
I
hear
didn't say I
never
that.
be
didn't like
ashamed
it.
of what you love. You know,
No.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I said it's not memorable.
right?
It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But
Well, anyways. Yeah.
Unless you like the Willow series, because I did watch that, and
some
I
people
haven't
like
seen
Phantom
it,
Menace.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people
Well,
do.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
I
a
like the
funny
lightsaber
statement.
scene in it.
Ah,
we've had this
Which one?
conversation. I'm
Yeah,
getting deja
exactly.
vu.
And we will again. We've actually talked about this on several occasions and will on a great many others.
Yes.
You know, they've called me a sadistic bestial necrophiliac, but I feel that's beating a dead horse.
Ah!
Ba-dum-bum.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on Invasion of the Body Snatchers and I Am Legend, Thrash?
Let's beat that dead horse too.
I'm not familiar with the source material. And I've never read Brian Aldiss either. I've read Brian Aldiss, Bob. I hadn't heard.
Oh.
So go ahead.
Awesome.
Since you watched all the special features, Damien, you clearly have more to say. So keep going.
Well, I was just going to relate that one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the scene where he goes into where Jen goes into, why am I having so much trouble with his name? He's the main character. Anyway,
Names.
Jen goes into Aughra's brain-shaped lair thing there,
Right.
you know.
The cave.
Yeah, her home, you know.
Poor
and
thing,
that
she's all upset, destroyed.
yeah, the thing that is my home, you're destroying my home. But anyway, so there's that big thing, you know, spinning around the big machine, you know, with all
The planets.
the worlds on it. And she's talking about the cosmos and everything. When I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's like I always wanted a model of that to like sit on my dresser and spin around kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember at
It's
Disneyland
called
they
an
had something.
orrery, by the way.
Oh,
I just remember at Disneyland they had something similar to that for some ride that
Mm.
I wasn't even remotely about that at all. But they had something similar to that. And that was the first time I ever seen something like that. And when I saw the movie, I was like,
Mhm.
was that a Disneyland like thing? It was cool. Look, it did remind me of Star Trek, okay, Indy?
Hey, yeah, there you go. Star Trek. Yeah, awesome. Yay.
I did it.
That's progress. That's progress. Let's keep moving in that direction.
I do have
Okay.
a question for people who actually know science, by the way, and I'm pretty sure this is the right answer, but just please confirm or deny. A planet that is in a tri-solar system could not have life on it because the planet would never cool enough for life to be habitable on said planet. Takers?
I mean, it probably all depends on the
Yeah.
orbital mechanics, but when you're dealing with a literal 3-body problem, figuring out the math is almost impossible. So
Yeah. It would be possible, yeah, if it was far enough away where it was in the habitable zone of the three
but the idea of
bodies,
having
but
a stable
yeah.
orbit in a 3-star
Yeah.
system itself is
If it
kind
was-
of insane.
if it was a moon orbiting a gas giant or something where it could get latent heat on the dark side off of, you know, anyway, there are ways that it could work.
Yeah, because you
But,
can get like
yeah.
plate tectonics and geological activity
Yeah.
from the gravity of a source
Yeah.
planet. Yeah.
And some glass or gas giants can also be, you know, borderline brown dwarfs where they actually are exothermic and so on and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
forth. So
That is
yeah.
Oh
true.
man, space
Yeah.
is heavy.
Anyway,
Oh,
I've
Thank you.
watched a lot of Science Channel in the past and listened to a number of science podcasts. And my personal astrophysicist, you know, has a podcast.
I was really bummed. I found out a couple of years ago that a planet around a red sun, everything wouldn't have a red tint, and that so bummed me out. It would still have a spectrum. Aw, I wanted everything to be red.
It would just be darker. It would just be darker. is
Yes,
what
it
it
would be
is, yeah.
darker.
It's funny because I recently for the video that's going to be dropping after this,
Mhm.
Robinson Crusoe on Mars, I actually did a bunch of research into what it looks like on Mars. Like, is the ground actually red and is the sky actually red? And in the early days, that's what they believed, and then they didn't believe that anymore, and now
Mhm.
they believe it again. They think that yeah, the sand is pretty much all red, except for in certain places, and the sky
Orange
is
and
definitely a
tan, yeah.
dark orange kind of color.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just cool.
Well,
I didn't know any of that until
Yeah,
I
that
researched.
there was a theory once upon a time that, you know, like the gray aliens that you know, visited people, they had such
Yes,
big
the
eyes
grays. Yes.
because they came from one of our closest neighbors which are red dwarf suns or systems. So.
I like the theory that they're from the distant future, where our sun has become a red dwarf. Yeah.
Oh,
and they effectively are us. We've devolved.
Yes, we've devolved into them. Yes.
No.
But anyway, one of the things I really appreciate about the Dark Crystal, as like an academic who really likes pulling apart themes and stuff in movies, is that it's basically a Taoist fairy tale. Like it's all about the yin and the yang. And the good and the bad, and coming together in the end to be one, to find peace and balance. And I really love that stuff. That really gets me.
I always thought it was neat that the I can't remember the name of the
Thank you, Texas.
The species before they split into the Skeksis and the Mystics, but I always like the idea that they in their arrogance they cracked the crystal and they themselves split into good and evil. I always thought that was an interesting concept.
I did too. I thought that was pretty clever of them. I was like, that's something different. I like that.
But it does borrow slightly from the Atlantis legend, because in some versions of the Atlantis legend, they were experimenting with crystal power, and something went awry.
Yep. We just have to find the shard, and we can repair the crystal.
The shard.
Atlantis will come.
This was another one of those movies. This and Empire Strikes Back. When I was a little kid, I literally did think that when people died, they just vanished. Like it happens in this movie, and it happens in Empire Strikes Back, and I just thought that was a thing that happened.
Let's not forget Night of the Comet.
Yeah.
When Kira dies, she didn't vanish though. She just got brought back to life.
They brought back. She wasn't dead. She was mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
But then there was the Skeksi Emperor who just kind of like crumbled away into dust.
I liked how the death was different for the Mystics and the Skeksis, and that the Skeksis, it was a messy, kind of almost horrifying way. He died and then he just crumbles away into ash or dust or whatever, whereas the Mystics just disappear, into vapor, kind of poof,
Yeah.
Edgar Casey, thank you, ma'am. I was trying to remember that name while we were talking.
Ooh, yes.
Casey. He's also the guy who said that there was a box underneath the Sphinx and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Maybe that's where they keep the crystal.
Maybe
we should go and find. Somebody find the shard, and we'll go and we'll dig up the.
One thing I love pointing out about Edgar Casey, he also lost his shirt in the stock market. So you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Not very good at predicting, things apparently.
But I also like how when the one Skeksi like falls into the crystal pit and like falls into the lava, and you see one of the mystic just in a flame.
And when he stabs Chamberlain in the hand with the crystal, my hand. Yeah.
And one thing I never noticed before until I watched it this time on Blu-ray, because I had it like in full color, high def, is that all of the Mystics are slightly color coded. I mean, they're all like variations of gray, but like there's like blue gray and greenish gray and orange gray. I never noticed that before. And the Skeksis are also slightly color coded the exact same way. Which I thought
they
was
are,
really neat.
because they're actually that's the counterpart to that. Yeah. You
While
know that
we're
when they filmed it, they actually used color gels in front of the lens on each scene to slightly tint each scene to actually more closely match the concept art that was created by, I can't remember who.
That's really smart, because now they would have just made it CGI and it would have looked terrible.
Yeah, you can color correct with easy.
Yeah,
it's just.
But in that movie, they did that same kind of trick that you see in CG created stuff, but in camera. So
yeah, there's like my favorite. In Labyrinth, which we'll also talk about in a minute. There's that scene where they're in like a bubble, and in order to get the bubble effect, they just put a bubble in front of the camera.
Yep.
Literally just a big plastic bubble.
And see, now I haven't watched the making of the Labyrinth, so
little things that come out at you too. You know how the Mystics have 6 appendages.
Yeah.
And when the Chamberlain, when he has his robes of state ripped off, if you look closely,
he has
the
vestigial ones. Yeah.
Yes. So the Skeksis also have 6 limbs, which shows the connection with the Mystics, and I never noticed that before until the time I saw it just now. And one thing as a kid, as a person who's been a fan of dinosaurs since he was a kid, in my opinion, the Skeksis are the closest thing to an imagination of a true Homo saurian ever. I mean, many people have tried
Very
to
good
envision what a Dino sapien would look like. I think the Skeksis are pretty darn close, at least in my opinion. That might be more fantasy than actual biomechanics, but I thought they did one heck of a job making them look like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're
I
actually
loved it.
they were the concept was like part bird, part lizard, part dragon kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but,
Dinosaur.
yeah.
I liked it.
Dinosaur.
It was right up my alley. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get that. That's awesome.
And the Mystics, like, they definitely look like sauropods. They kind of look like little, apatosauruses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Man,
Brian,
that was a really hard role for the actors to play too, because they were all crouched all the time and had to walk in a crouch. And you try to do that through your living room, you know. 3 steps in, you'll be like, it burns. It burns.
And they usually, in most of the things that they wear, they can't see anything. Basically.
Yeah,
They
well,
maybe
they actually
see
had
a
an
little
arm
bit, like
up.
a mesh. Yeah,
They had an arm up through the head. The head is their arm, you know, being worked by their hand. So they couldn't see anything. They were just kind of, you know, blindly moving about in these big lumbering costumes. And it's like, man, those poor actors.
I mean, that's just some hardcoreness there. I mean, like you watch them slowly walk, and you're like, yeah, they couldn't go fast if they wanted to. They just like fall apart. It's like terrible.
And the Skeksis were basically the same. It was a guy in the suit with one arm up through the head, and then another arm actually being used to work things, you know, like the other arm was actually out doing things. That's why you always see one arm that looks kind of stiff and another arm that's actually doing stuff, like the sword scene. He only holds the sword with his right hand, and the left hand's kind of stiff and just kind of moves to it, but his fingers never move, you know. So it's because he's actually, you know, his right arm is a real arm and the left arm is a puppet. So, but they actually had to, they couldn't see what they were doing in the Skeksis costumes. They had little TVs right down here that they were actually tied into the cameras so they could see
there was a lot
what
of
they were doing
too,
and how they were acting, so they could know where to move the head and how to tilt and, you know, so on and so forth.
Well, no wonder these costumes keep getting heavier and heavier. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they have, like, you know, this is a little tiny CRT TV, you know. I mean, think of the smallest ones from the 80s. They weighed like 15, 20 pounds. You know?
You're right. Dude, I must have been so hot in there. Plus that, I could not.
Oh man, I bet they had to keep that soundstage at like 60 degrees all the time just to keep.
I get
people
hot
from
wearing my
dying.
headphones. Okay, so I can't even imagine just all that.
Yeah. Yeah, my ears are getting sweaty. Yeah.
I know, right? Let's not talk about that.
There's some crazy suit work in Labyrinth. If I might just go ahead and skip ahead a little bit.
Nice segue.
Let's go on. We've done 30 minutes on this, and I mean,
in Labyrinth, my favorite one is actually there are these people who have like big things of garbage on their back. They're only in like one scene. But in order to get that to work was completely insane, because the person who's inside, there's actually 2 people inside. The main person inside is actually inside all the trash that's on top, like, and looking through that little piece of chair or whatever to try to see. And there's another person on like a dolly between her legs, who's actually doing the whole the handwork while she's the one moving the head around, like down here, you know. And
well,
they have to, like,
uncomfortable.
She has to hobble around with this other person between her legs, pushing her around as she goes.
Oh wow.
That was just insane to see how that worked out. And also there's Ludo, who was actually only operated by one guy. They actually had to like basically invent brand new technology to keep it from being 250 pounds. It was only about 80 pounds. It was doable.
Ludo was awesome. One of the best characters there, definitely.
Yeah, Ludo was it. There's so much technology behind Ludo. Like the special features spent a lot of time on Ludo himself, because it's kind of crazy.
Cool. I'm gonna have to watch that. It's like Agra, Kira, and Jen all had. It took 3 people to operate them: the puppeteer, and then 2 more people with these little pneumatic or electronic controls and joysticks to operate the facial features and the ears moving.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in pretty much every.
There's a whole. It's like wow, yeah. So it's like off camera. There's like 3 people for this one puppet. You know.
Yeah.
Well.
Hoggle was also extremely complicated. There were so many different things going on with Hoggle.
Yeah, the animatronics in his head had to have been
the
crazy.
animatronics in his head were crazy.
I
And it
would
wasn't
imagine his
actually
head like
person in
super
there,
heavy.
obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was all heavy because like the head just had so much going on. There was so much in that head, and she had to put her head inside that head. So like it was very difficult for her, and she couldn't see a thing. Like she was basically led around, told where to turn and what to look at. She couldn't see a thing. And yeah, if you've seen images of what Hoggle looks like today, it's really scary and disturbing, and I don't recommend it because he's like started to fall apart like the puppet.
Oh,
And it looks like a horror movie prop now. It's scary.
All right, well,
they should make a horror movie like Hoggle Returns.
This time he's pissed.
You stole his bag of jewels, and he's come for revenge.
And while we're on the subject of animatronics, in the climax of Labyrinth, there's all those like rocks because Ludo's calling all the rocks. For the life of me, I always thought it was just done with like a bunch of reverse photography and stuff that like they were just rolling rocks around and filming it in reverse. No, those were actual animatronics that were really doing that. They were really like rolling around all over the place. Really.
Wow.
It's crazy. They were all controlled by remotes, and you could actually in the special features you see them like rolling around and like bumping into people.
I want a remote control rock.
I
know. It's so cool.
I'll put it out the front yard and scare people with it.
I know, right? That'd be awesome. Why don't we have
also
those?
just as a fun note and a nod to Star Trek, since Sarah is here, the choreographer in both movies, Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, was Gates McFadden.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go.
She's
she was
awesome.
credited as Cheryl McFadden, but it's the same person.
Ah.
I don't know why she changed her name to Gates. No idea.
I can make a bunch of jokes, but they're not this show appropriate, so I won't.
It may have been one of those stage name things where there was already a Cheryl or a Gate. Or
maybe.
Yeah. She had to change it.
Or maybe Gates was her real name, and she used Cheryl as like a screen name when she was doing stuff. Yeah. And then she eventually was able to get her name back.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, so I have no idea.
She rented out her name.
But yeah, the rocks blew me away that those were remote control rocks. And also the big giant like steampunk thing swinging the axe, the thing that's like 5 times as big as Ludo. That was real. That was completely real.
Yeah, there's no CG in that other than the owl at the very beginning.
Owl at the very beginning is the only CG. It's obvious.
Yeah, that it's very obvious because it's a little bit too perfect for an owl.
Yeah.
Really?
But anyway.
And Jennifer Connelly was only 14.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
When they filmed it, you mean, right?
Yeah, when they filmed it, she was only 14. Yeah.
But she was supposed to be 15, I think, as the
Something
character.
Like that.
Because it makes such a difference there. It does not. But okay.
Yeah, but still, middle-aged Goblin King who doesn't look anything like a goblin, strangely enough. Seeks 15-year-old teenage human for baby snatching and magic stair climbing.
Also, that Escher scene at the end with all the staircases, a lot of that was more practical than you think. Like there really was a stunt dude who was upside down underneath and got swung up and stuff like that. It's crazy.
I actually did see the making of that once upon a time, a long time ago. I thought that was really cool.
One of the scenes I really liked in the Labyrinth, though, is when she goes to the castle and then the stairs are all like all over the place, right? I really like that. Yeah, I really liked it because I think the baby crawling like that actually looks pretty good, and I was like really impressed by that. And then also I could see his pants really well. That was weird, but anyways, great scene.
Somebody mentioned him earlier, Brian Froud. I don't know how to pronounce it. Who was a friend of Jim Henson, had worked with him for decades, and he was the guy who did the concept art for both Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. It was his baby that is Toby, and his baby's name was actually Toby. And he gets interviewed in the special features on Labyrinth as like a regular dude who's like our age now,
Cool.
Well, your age.
Mine. I was talking to me and Damien.
I could almost be his father.
Closer to Sarah, probably closest to Sarah.
Yeah. So anyways, he's older now. Got it. He grew up. Crazy. And does he know that I did not mean to call the Goblin King? I'm sorry about that. We'll not do it again.
It's like, my bad. Didn't mean
Learn
to.
my lesson.
Wrong number. Didn't mean to call you.
I forgot to bring my prop. Give me just 1 second. I got to grab something. Talk amongst yourselves.
Grab away. Grab away.
Amongst ourselves.
I unfortunately don't have the Labyrinth on Blu-ray, just regular DVD. So.
And also, again, I dropped Labyrinth and Dark Crystal's links in my chat, so when the chat's back up, y'all can grab it and go watch it and go, oh, they were wrong or right, whatever. Look forward to hearing about it. So, but yeah, okay, so, but I must admit, though, that Labyrinth actually is a pretty freaking good movie overall. I always thought, like, when I was a kid and I saw the previews for it, I always thought those little balls that he was rolling around on his hand were really cool.
Yep. The man with the bulging package and the crystal balls. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
he wasn't the one operating the crystal ball.
Oh, he's fondling those balls. You know, I know it's not him. I know it's not him. It's I kind of figured when he was doing the whole back and forth rolling that they actually got like somebody that's.
I used to think it was him. I used to think David Bowie's just that awesome, like
a juggler or whatever to do that.
But it's his name was like Michael Magic or something like that.
Magic Mike.
That's a hard trick to learn how to do because I actually tried to learn how to do that once upon a time, and it's like you're gonna throw that thing across the room 100 times.
Because I remember the 80s they came out with these balls like that you could do that kind of stuff with, right? And I knew it was from like a movie, or I remember seeing it in a preview for a movie, but. Then when I finally saw the movie, I was like, oh, yeah, that one.
It's funny. The guy was actually like having to stand like behind David Bowie, doing the whole hand thing. But his head was like up against Bowie's butt, basically. And he's like trying to do this without looking. And apparently it was impossible. They did like hundreds of takes where it just kept falling and falling. And David Bowie kept cracking up every time.
Well, all I know is I would have a hard time being that where those pants, they need more pants I need a buffer. I need more pants.
So you got to wonder how many of the Goblin King's crystal balls did the guy break before?
I don't know, but in the behind the scenes, they have like a whole crate of them. It's kind of funny.
It's like there goes another pair. God.
I have to show this off because it came directly from New Zealand. My brother bought it and brought it here specifically for my wife. I requested this because Labyrinth is one of her favorite movies. But we have the worm.
I love the worm.
Oh, that's cool.
Hello.
So that cool. Way.
Hello.
Did you just say hello? No, I said hello, but that's close enough.
Right.
Don't go that way.
Yeah, don't think about the castle. Don't go there. Come on in. Come on.
What I love in that scene, aside from the worm, are the lichen with the little eyeballs that are like following it.
They're like everywhere. Yeah.
I was just like, man, that is so cool. That's like that whole immersive, set design and world thing that they built there too, which is like everything is
with the attention to detail when they hooked up those lichen. They actually designed the servos specifically so that they would be on a delay. Like there's ones that would fire immediately, ones that would fire like second, third, fourth, fifth, so that they're not all moving in exact unison. They're all kind of like
they kind of do their own little thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
which
that's
I thought
neat.
Was really cool detail.
Yeah, make it look more organic and that's awesome.
Is the thing watching the special features on Labyrinth, I got the sense that Jim Henson is extremely detail oriented. He wants all the detail that he can possibly get, but he's also extremely trusting of his team. He lets them do what they're going to do, however they want to do it. As long as the detail's there, he doesn't ask how it got there, kind of thing, which I thought was really neat. And really cool.
I got that sense as well watching the special features on Dark Crystal. Because he like the concept art. I mean, even down to like the character development of the Skeksis costumes themselves, and then the mystics, and so he left it up to the teams to figure out. And then every now and again he might like give them a little piece of criticism, but mostly it was just, oh yeah, that's cool. That's great. That's awesome what you've done. Kind of.
I've had requests to show it again, so
yeah.
Hello.
That's awesome.
Hello.
Come inside, have a cup of tea. Come on inside, meet the missus. Love that little guy. I want one of those for like a real one of those, The little worm comes out of the wall. Hello.
Hello.
And you talked about perspective shots, and that in that scene where she like walks into the wall and then turns, that blew my brain as a kid.
Yeah. So cool.
You know, I am kind of sad that I didn't get to see this kind of movie when I was younger, right? Like either one of these, right? Because like I said, I saw Witches. That was awesome, right? I really did like these kind of shows when I was a kid. So I would have loved to have seen it, but like I said, I just didn't get to. But I finally got to, and it was awesome. Not as cool as an adult. I'm like, well, that's okay, I get it. But you know, as a kid, I had to wonder.
It was at the perfect age where it's like I remember having the McDonald's toys, you know, Happy Meal toys for this movie. You know, I think it was a McDonald's. Was it Burger King, McDonald's? One of them. One of them had the toys. I had the little cannon guy. You know, the guy at the in the Goblin City. He had the cannon on his face, and he gets crushed by the rock.
Right. Yeah.
I had one of those little guys. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think when this movie came out, I was behind something of an 8 ball because I had just graduated high school.
Yeah.
I was in my late teens. And I was too old to appreciate it as a child, but I was too young to have a sense of nostalgic whimsy. I was basically in my everything is so lame phase.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I went to see it because I had heard good things because my friends were a bunch of geeks. You might find that hard to believe.
Really?
Seriously,
I can't believe that.
You're kidding, right?
What a liar. I call lies. I call lies on that.
This is so cool. This is so cool. Oh my God, you have to see about. And another, how should I put this? Parts of it I thought were really slick. Like I love the high fantasy and the drama and all that, but they tried too hard to appeal to the children. So it was almost like just when my mind was willing to accept it, they had basically a squirrel come out riding a dog thinking he's Don Quixote. And I'm like, you just ruined it. It's you know, it reminded me of it was the same problem I had with anime. When I was into anime as a kid, you'd have these really serious, intense action dramas, and they'd have one super chibi character who just kind of bop out, go, and I'm like, it's
the
like
touch comas and Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
And they always did, and I understand that in anime circles, that's how you do comic relief, but in my circles, it destroyed the illusion. So again, I think if it had come out 10 years earlier or 10 years later, it would have been one of my favorite films of all time. But it was in that emotional blind spot.
Sir Didymus, Sir Didymus was the fox, by the way. I always saw him as a halfway between the knight from Monty Python and Don Quixote, because
he was voiced by Terry Jones. He was voiced by Terry Jones. He's Terry Jones.
That's right. Yeah.
I completely forgot that. If I knew it at all, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a little secret for you. You know, Terry Jones was one of the leading experts in the world on Middle Eastern history. He was considered an expert on the Crusades.
Really? Wow.
Towards the end of his life, he was actually doing a series.
Come on. I'm
on
having internet issues.
Crusades.
Hold on.
We noticed.
Sorry.
He looks funny blurred.
Okay.
Oh, me?
I got it back. I think I got it.
No, Geek was blurred.
Oh, I see.
But one of the other scenes that kind of like lended itself to kids was the entire bog of eternal stank.
Yes, love that.
You look down at when they first get in there, and you look down at the bog, and it's basically a bunch of anuses squirting, sulfurous smell. Yeah. And then the bridge scene where all the rocks come up. I laughed my butt off when I was a kid, because it's like she steps down, and it's like, and then Ludo walks across, and it's like, and then the dog.
So great.
I still crack up thinking about it now. I laughed last night when I watched it. It's like the rocks farting.
I love it.
In this
Wouldn't they all
house,
stink
anytime
after stepping on the wet rocks, I mean, you would think, you know. Anyway,
in this house, anytime anybody farts and it smells bad, one of us will inevitably go, "Smell bad."
Smell bad.
Man.
Ludo.
Rudolph.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, anyways,
Hmm.
the Bog of Eternal Stench is awesome. I thought that was very clever. It was very good. I don't want to go there at all, but I will watch from a distance with some type of sound amplifier just so I can hear. That'd be great.
It's one of those things. It's adolescent and funny, but at the same time, it is
Mm.
actually kind of horrifying. The idea that you
Mhm.
could just like get splashed with this gick and smell for the rest of your life. That's
Yep.
that's not a fun idea.
It's,
No,
it's like
no.
it's like those sprays they have called liquid. Well, I'm not going to say that actual word, but AS. Anyway,
Yes.
like that stuff, right? Lasts like months, right? I always think about I'm gonna get back at somebody. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna pour it in their vents at the top of the car because somehow magic, right? Anyways, but still not good enough. I mean, it's not the bug yet. So watch
Yeah,
out.
it's like
Find
I wasn't
that bug.
worried about Sarah. Like she could throw away her shoes, but the other characters walk on those rocks. They've got that stuff on their feet. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They should smell like it now. They stepped on the
Forever.
wet rocks.
Yeah, unless the rocks have some sort of natural repellent to them.
And
I
what
don't
about
know.
Sir Didymus? He lived there. You'd think the smell would just like have
Just permeated him.
permeated into his clothing and skin and like
Hey, he didn't even seem to notice that it
Yeah,
smelled.
he didn't even
so.
smell it himself because he'd been there.
it sounded
for so
like
long.
it smelled like a sweet fresh day.
So I can't let anybody buy. Well, can we go buy?
Air is
Okay.
sweet and fragrant.
But no, in my generation, pretty much every girl I knew growing up in high school or college, every single one of them had seen and loved Labyrinth. Like every single one without fail.
Yeah.
And to this day, like in my generation, that's just the thing. All the boys grew up watching Dark Crystal. All the girls grew up watching Labyrinth. I don't know. It's just a thing that happened.
I missed all that.
Apparently, maybe you're just too young.
I was born when it first came out. Yeah, sorry.
And going back to the Dark Crystal, one of the things I did like about the movie is that they made Kira, she was like a strong yet feminine character, like, the kind of a heroine, brave and so on and so forth. And always one of the scenes I liked was when they jump off the cliff and she has wings that come out
of course.
and stop
And he's
her.
like, "Why don't I have
And he's like,
wings?"
"You have wings?
You're
I don't
a
have
boy."
wings." She's like, "Of course not. You're a boy."
I loved it when they touched and they did that dream fast.
The dream fasting thing. Yeah.
That was cool, man. I was like, well, that's a great way to talk about the past without having to go into a blah 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 in the
It's like
before time.
It's an exposition shortcut, It's
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
and it was really good
Cheat
too because
code
they
almost.
visually said it, and then they they visually did it, and they talked about it, but it was all real quick. You got the gist of it. It was moving forward. It was awesome, right? You didn't spend 500 years going, and then all this happened. There's some more things, and the dawn of time. And you're like,
Well, it allows them to get caught up on each other's lives immediately,
Yeah, right. And also, how do
their
they know
backstories.
about
They
that?
don't even have to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
introduce each other to each other. Like, yeah,
They're just
great.
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, we're friends now. We know everything about
Your
each
name
other.
is Jen. Why do I know that?
Oh, we dream touch. Remember fast. Remember that we touched and moved. And not
We
quite
now know
the
each other's
touch,
backstory.
dude.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'd be a lot easier. I mean, if I just shook somebody's hand and went, "Oh, I know too much about you now," that'd be crazy.
And yes, the podling the podlings in the bar, just jamming away, having a grand old time. So
good
good.
scene. Yeah,
So
good
good.
scene.
Ridiculously complicated, I'm sure, behind the
Oh,
scenes.
There's dozens of them in
Yeah,
any
all
scene.
kinds
So
of
and
stuff
you
going
think
on.
that each one of those is at least one actor or possibly two with two puppets on his hands.
Yeah, exactly.
his or her hands.
And note, speaking of the shtick where they speak a foreign language that we don't understand, the podlings do that,
Yes,
and it works
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does work fine.
And Jen does that, or not
struggle.
Jen, but Kira does that at the very beginning. She's talking to Jen in another language, and he doesn't understand, and he starts speaking to her, and then she's like, "Oh, I speak that language too," kind of thing. So
She speaks every language of the plants, everything. It's just like
Yeah.
it's
Giant
amazing.
creature.
she can call the Landstrider things or whatever they
Yeah,
are.
those things are cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I
They
really
work.
like those. I
calls-
want to ride one. Can I ride one?
Yeah.
Geek, will you be one so I can ride you? That doesn't sound right. Never mind.
No.
No.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
I just thought that sorry.
Try sneaking up.
Damien, you up for a ride?
Just put some long legs on your narwhal. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you need,
I'll have to talk to the narwhal about that. I'm not sure he's down for that.
watching the making of the Landstriders was neat because it's just like guys on big long stilts, both legs and arms, you know, just doing this. They actually tied wires to their backs so that they wouldn't fall down and kill themselves, but also so they could do those big strides that they did. You know, they'd actually jump and stride long distances because they were on a wire.
Takes the weight off of them. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, see, now that's kind of cool though, because like before I ever saw this movie, right, I was watching YouTube, of course. Anyways, and there's people that, you know, make those scary looking costumes. They go out in public with them and they try to pretend they're real and stuff like that, right? Just get people's reactions, right? And some people, like a couple, had made these kind of things that I had no idea what, you know, even they were from, right? And people were out there going, wow, that's so cool. But nobody ever said, hey, that's like from the movie, which is weird because these things look exactly like those Striders. It was really cool.
Yeah, a bit of the hop. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Especially like they name them podlings.
Yeah, the gelflings, you know, elfling, gelfling, you know, elf.
Hi, Mark. Mike.
Right.
That would not have been as good a movie, man.
So in going back to the Labyrinth, in the Labyrinth, one of the things that I kind of caught as a little bit creepy, just to kind of bring that back in there, because there's
a little bit of creepy, yeah.
There's a bit of creepiness going on in that. What's the Elf King's name again?
Jareth.
Jareth. I wanted to say Jared. No, it's Jareth.
That's a different predator.
Being a different pervert.
Yeah, right.
That's a sandwich man. Don't worry about him.
Jareth, whatever, you know.
Oh no,
so he gives Hoggle a you know, roofied peach essentially.
Right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
To you know,
have a trip out moment.
Yeah, have her trip out, get knocked out, have a dream or whatever, so he can take her to his little sex club and, you know,
pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
try to have his way with her and possibly, you know.
Yeah, I love how they all
have
have their troll masks on, right? Yeah. Their troll masks. It was like great. I'm like, so even in the fantasy, like, no, we're trolls, promise.
So talk about creepy when he's roofying a 14-year-old girl with a.
No, again, like I said, watching the special features, that was absolutely intentional. This was supposed to be an adult world that she wasn't supposed to be a part of, and she's being seduced by it. That was like the whole point. It's crazy.
A peach being a symbol of, you know.
Yeah,
what we use the emoji for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So you know.
And yeah, Frank Oz was one of the voices, and Jim Henson and Brian Henson obviously voiced most of the characters. Crazy. Brian Henson was only 22, but he's mostly responsible for both the puppeteering of Hoggle's face and the voice of Hoggle was Brian at 22.
I think when Jim Henson talks, he sounds like a older Kermit the Frog.
Kermit, yeah. It's so like weird watching like the behind the scenes stuff when he's narrating. And it's like, thank you, Kermit.
It's like, thanks, Kermit. You know, if you just kind of raise your voice a little bit, then you'd be Kermit again.
Kermit with a cold.
Yeah, really.
Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the way, like his cadence, and when he speaks, you know, the rhythm of it, you know, it's like it sounds like Kermit. That's how Kermit speaks, you know, and so it's just like, I can see where that voice came from. So
that is correct, Indy. Just without all the blood, yeah.
Right. Well, I like it though when she like, you know, goes and forgets everything, right? And she's in that like trash heap, right? And then she keeps like throwing her like, oh, you love all your stuff here, right? But I also love at the end when she lets go of Sir Lancelot and gives it to her little brother. I was like, dude, look, see, it's not so bad having a little brother, right? You can have a lot of fun with him. It's not a big deal. You know, of course he's gonna cry a lot. Just ignore that part, okay? But the rest of it's good, you know? But I thought that was really cool that she was able to, like, after this adventure, you know, realize, you know, that her little brother was more than just an annoyance. And now he could have the bear and she could, like, move forward. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, well, she's just learning about responsibility. You know, she has to be responsible for it.
But the important thing is, and as a child whose father remarried and had more children, it's this interesting dichotomy it's like they're not a responsibility. They're not a burden. Yes, you have to be responsible, and sometimes they can be a burden, but they are your family. They are your blood. They are your kin, and it's very important to see it from that perspective.
Exactly.
And I remembered, Jenny Lou, if you watch this, I apologize yet again. We were vacationing in the islands once. This is years ago, and all the adults all went into town to do something, and I was supposed to watch my siblings. My sister was going through her particular terrible twos, and she decided she was going to join them. And every time I turned my back on her, she started running down the path to go catch up with them. And this is like 20, 30 minutes later where she wouldn't catch up with them if they tried. And they warned us that there was like wild pigs and other stuff in the woods, so be careful. And the 15th and 16th time I went down the trail to grab her and bring her back, I go, you know what? You go one more time, I'm going to let you. And I didn't, and she's still with us, and we love each other to death now. But again, you have to kind of overcome the concept that these people are a little more than a burden to you, and she does that at the end, and that's a very important message. And I kind of painted myself in a corner. That's all I had to say there.
She learned a valuable lesson.
Very true. Yes.
What have we learned, Thrash?
Yes, that is one of the interesting things in Labyrinth is, it kind of wraps up the end with, what have we learned, children?
Yeah.
And then that material things don't matter, that family is forever, kind of thing, So.
All right, and then also mirror parties are my favorite. I love it when the people from my mirrors come out and go party with me in my room. It's awesome. I have a lot of mirror parties in here. I got 2 mirrors.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
He comes in.
Love the hallucination she has at the end. Must be an after effect of the roofie from earlier.
Yeah, she clearly had to go to the hospital after that.
Yeah. Sarah, what are you doing in there? Oh, I'm just playing with my friends. Dance magic, dance magic.
Listen, as it was me, I trust and believe it wasn't just that peach, okay?
It
might have
14 is a little early, but it's still possible that the schizophrenia is kicking in,
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Either that or she's got some friends that have some magic little pieces of paper to borrow that she can.
Oh, yeah.
It was the 80s after all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was in the park alone in a princess dress. She may have been hanging out with hippies. You never know.
I'm the Goblin King.
Yeah.
Her father, by the way, her father is the father from AbFab.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
What's AbFab?
You only see him like briefly, so
very brief, absolutely fabulous. The very avant-garde English sitcom.
Oh, I know AbFab. Yeah.
Oh no, Sarah asks. Sarah says, "What's AbFab?"
Maybe I do. It's one of those things that I don't read very well and remember words, so maybe I have seen it. I don't know. I have to look at it. Sorry.
It's about this English. How do I describe her? Woman who never grew up, and she's trying to raise her daughter who has grown up, and she had a child with this man who later turned out to be homosexual, and they have this bizarre ongoing relationship. And he was the girl's father.
Lush. That's a safe word.
Yes, that's a good one.
Hey, Gary brought up the scene with the staircase was from painting. That's an Escher painting. I think they're actually drawings, though. They're not paintings.
Yeah, it's a drawing. And if I had a nickel for every time I saw an 80s movie where a girl chases a baby through an Escher painting while being stalked by a monster, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Yes. I actually have, but I say I have it. It's in my daughter's room now, so it's hers. But
I don't know if we have that exact Escher one. We have a bunch of Escher in this house. We might.
I've got that one and the endless staircase or endless water. No, the endless waterfall.
The waterfall, and we've got the hand drawing the hand, and we've got the like lizard thing coming to life and all that stuff. Yeah, we got.
Always like the orb.
The orb.
Yeah.
So, I think we got that one in the living room. Actually,
he's a very, very talented artist with a pencil.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Escher and a lot of Dolly here. So, yeah.
Well,
would you guys like to purchase some Sarah original AI art that may or may not be correct? You know, I made a song and it got one picture. It's got somebody with like 3 legs or something. I don't know. There's a mysterious leg in it. It's crazy. Anyways, it's original. Swear.
Oh, and speaking of Dolly, and this is the total departure for everything because it's a nostalgia channel, and what I'm about to mention is contemporary. Has anyone seen the music video for that song "Anxiety"? By the way,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
it's done as a dream sequence, and Salvador Dali would have been proud at the conceptualization. It's like when you first watch it, you go, "This makes no sense," and then you go, "Oh, it's a dream sequence," and how things randomly bleed from one into the other, and there's like stuff in the background that you wouldn't even catch unless you realize it's like a dream. It's actually outstandingly well done. But I felt when you mentioned Dolly, I felt compelled to mention it because I thought of Dolly when I saw it because Dolly, of course, did the dream sequence for I knew I was going to forget the title right before I mentioned it, but for a movie with a dream sequence in it.
Yeah, he's done a lot of film work over the years. He was going to be part of Jodorowsky's Dune, of course, as we all know. He was going to be the Emperor.
Dune is awesome. Well,
Yes.
the original Dune.
But if we keep talking about Dolly, my clock that I got from Uncle Joe is going to start melting on me.
Oh no, we can't do that.
There is a connection to Jodorowsky though, because she gives the toy away at the end, and in El Topo, he buries his favorite toy. Remember?
Oh yeah,
and that's how he grows up. He buries his mother's picture in his favorite toy.
That does make sense. That works. Yeah. Which movie? Dune? Yes, Mick Jagger was considered to be in Dune. Jodorowsky who wasn't.
I like Sting in it. Sting was good.
That's David
Lynch version. Yeah.
There's a whole documentary.
My favorite.
Andrei Jodorowsky was going to do a Dune, and it was going to be about 13 hours long.
Oh no, I would not.
Pink Floyd's soundtrack, all kinds of stuff. It's great.
Ooh, good thing we missed that.
Sting was also actually considered for the role of Jareth, the Goblin King, in Labyrinth.
Well, you know,
I'm glad they picked David Bowie. I can't imagine anybody but David Bowie. Honestly,
Sting would not have done. Yeah, he would.
Well, he wasn't a good Fade Rutha either.
Look, I love Sting as a musician
and
as a singer, as an actor. He's awful. The dude cannot act.
Well, anyways,
but he was also like in his 30s. Fade Rutha's a teenager. I did like his "I Will Kill You," and he tried. He gave it his all, but he was not Fade Rutha.
No.
Well, anyways, I like Sting in it anyways. That was really interesting thing when I saw that. I was like, what?
You just like the thong, the winged thong.
Yeah, I first saw that movie at Costco. Yeah, and then I bought it there on VHS. So.
The thing that annoys me, I know we're on a tangent, but whatever. The thing that annoys me about Jodorowsky's Dune is that he's got that big Bible, like that, which got all the concept art, all the work that he put into making that movie that never got made, and he won't freaking publish it. Just publish it.
I think in his mind, someday he'll make it. I think in his mind, someday he's actually going to sit down and make this movie.
He's got to be like 80 now.
Yeah.
Maybe if he published it, he'd be more likely to get backing to make that movie. You know, that is a wonderful
what was the movie that Orson Welles
together.
Wanted to, and up until the day he died, he said he was going to make this movie, and I can't think of the name of it to save my life. But it's like that. It's like it's more than just a pet project. It's like the Moby Dick. It becomes like the elephant on your back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, like I keep saying every Thursday I'm going to get up and film my trash trucks, but I never do that either. So I get it.
Good connection.
Thank you.
And it was Stanley Kubrick who was trying to get AI made for like 30 years. Yeah.
And he died. and they gave it to Spielberg, and Spielberg didn't make it either. Ooh.
No, I like AI.
Well, you're not right there. You're not wrong there, I should say.
He attempted and failed miserably.
I thought it was an okay movie. It was decent. It had some interesting points.
It would have been better if it had been a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh yeah.
It was connected to the source material.
I do feel like Spielberg was trying his best to imitate Stanley Kubrick, and I think that was the mistake he made.
Yeah.
He should have read the short story first. It's only like 12 pages long, dude. You know, and it's not even a good short story either. It's not one of his best.
Yeah,
I wish they'd make a.
Snark out here putting
a
crazy spoilers in the chat.
I know, she's crazy.
I wish they'd make a movie.
If you don't know that, you shouldn't be on a movie channel.
Well,
I wish
anyways,
they'd make a movie adaptation of Isaac Asimov's The Last Question, but you know,
Ooh, that would be good.
They could actually, you could stretch it out and make it a whole movie because it spans basically trillions of years. So you know, the end of the
really
universe.
slow moving. I'm not interested in if it's really slow moving.
Is that the one that
I think a lot of Asimov would work best as animated, like because
Yeah,
you can get away
it
with
would
a
need to be
lot
animated.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
is that the one that ends with the Bible quote?
Yes.
Yes.
I won't give it away. I won't give it away.
It's a quick read. You can look. It's free online. Look it up on Google. You can read it. Take you about 15 minutes at most, maybe 10.
And that's the thing I love about
You know.
Asimov is like
That's
no
3
matter
years
how
read.
long it is, it's an easy read because
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
language is so welcoming. You know,
With exception of Foundation at times.
well, some of the later Foundation books.
Yeah,
do
it
get a
was
little
very-
goofy.
just it was long-winded and you know
He got
far
old
too,
and
you know,
started to
yeah.
worry that he wasn't, going to
Yeah.
run out of things to say or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But-
Wow.
a little too
Okay.
in depth at times.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mhm.
Labyrinth and Dark Crystal.
Yeah, back to that.
Yeah, those movies. So, that's what we were here for.
Lemon Crystal.
How do
Yeah.
you feel about the actual David Bowie music and how it's incorporated into Labyrinth? I'm just going to ask that as an open question, just to get a read for the room.
Very, very 80s.
Yeah, that's what I'd have
Extremely
to say.
80s. That's what
It's not,
where
it's
I
not
would put it.
bad. It's not good either, but it's very 80s,
Yeah.
so just very nostalgic in that regard for sure.
It's interesting that the movie was half musical, half, anyway.
Yeah, especially after the
80s.
Dark Crystal, which has
Yeah.
no music.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Because, Crystal Method hadn't become a band yet, obviously.
Had it been, they probably would have done the soundtrack though.
And it would have been badass.
No doubt. Yes.
Until the crystal cracked.
Anyway, so what do you think, Brad? I'm curious.
I like the music, and one of the weird. And there's one number that I just didn't like, and it plays to when Sarah was talking about the things with they're pulling their heads off. And
It's awful.
that whole
music in that-
scene.
The music is so like nails on
Yeah.
a chalkboard to me.
It's
Yeah,
almost
it's just
it's
awful.
it's almost got a Caribbean or reggae-ish kind of
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
sound to
trying to
it,
do
you
a lot
know.
of different things musically, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah,
comes across
that
as
it
noisy.
sounds like
Fusion.
some
Yeah.
type of horrible AI
When I was a
music I made
kid-
and said it was good.
You can't even
Like, that's
understand all the
awful, but good.
lyrics.
Yeah.
It's
When I was a
And-
kid, that was one of my favorite numbers in the movie, but it had more to do
Ah,
with because
that's
they were
crazy.
because of the
these-
actual Muppets.
the Muppets were pulling their heads off and throwing them at each other and stuff.
I don't like
thought it
that
was
part.
funny,
The whole
but
thing is so unnecessary. I'm like,
Yeah.
why was this in here? Okay, everything else is good enough.
It's
Okay,
just
the
to
pants even make sense, but why is this in here?
illustrate the craziness of the different areas in the labyrinth, I guess.
Yeah, the absurdity. Yeah.
The
I'm pretty
absurdity,
sure we
yeah,
got
of it
that
all,
when we talked to that little worm guy in the beginning. Did you remember that? That was
Yeah.
awesome.
And the whole scene
Come
isn't
on
even.
inside, meet the
I know.
missus.
Yeah, he's so cute.
It's almost like they needed an intermission, so they threw
Mhm.
that in there.
Well,
Yes.
just
How was
God.
Sarah gonna go inside the worm's house? Is what I want to know.
Well,
He
look,
invites her in
it's-
for a cup
Nothing
of tea.
is as it seems. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
maybe
like- yeah.
she shrinks down and it's huge in there or something.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and
Or maybe the worm becomes really big. That'd be terrifying.
Maybe the worm was actually gigantic in real life, but because of perspective,
Perspective,
yeah,
yeah.
because the wall wasn't there,
Maybe.
maybe
something.
if she went in, he was just gonna eat her.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, maybe she was lunch. Maybe he was trying to like lure her in,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she did
Yeah.
look pretty tasty. All that
Yeah.
tastiness about her.
Careful,
I mean,
Sarah. Dangerous
I mean-
waters. Careful.
Bowie thought she looked tasty in that movie, or should I say Jareth? But
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, that was a really good movie about me. So,
So anyway, my thoughts on the David Bowie music. I love David Bowie. I've always
Mhm.
loved David Bowie. I think his music is great. I even like the music in Labyrinth.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
don't think it belongs in the movie. It feels so out of place to me.
That's-
Like it doesn't feel like Labyrinth should be a musical. Like when the
Yeah.
musical numbers kick in and all of a sudden David Bowie's voice becomes highly overproduced from a studio setting, and it feels so off to me. It does not work for me. My wife completely disagrees. My wife loves the music and loves him in the movie, but I don't think it works. Personally.
That's kind of my take on it too. Really, is my feeling of having the music in there is like it for one, it's very, very 80s music, and we're in a fantasy land that lends itself more to like, Middle Ages kind of.
The 80s was fantasy. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
It was very neon, very fantasy.
It was very 50s,
I have to say, though,
you know,
Dance Magic Dance, there's something about that whole sequence that worked for me.
The sequence is good. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
For some reason, I don't know if it because I don't know why it worked, but for some reason I thought that sequence I have always liked that one.
It's kind of like the podling scene that we were talking about earlier from Dark Crystal, where there's just like so much going on that it's a visual treat to watch. Also, fun fact: the voice of the baby, because they couldn't actually get the baby to make any noises. The baby was really, really quiet. The baby noises that the baby makes during that song is actually David Bowie. David Bowie.
Is it really?
It is really.
I did not know that.
That's kind of fun.
Professional baby sounds. Awesome.
Yeah.
He's multi-talented.
How do you know you have this
baby
talent?
voice actor.
I'm gonna make that a short. I'm gonna write it down on my list.
Nice. I look forward to
But
your
yeah,
comments.
I thought the music was a little out of place as well. It just didn't. It was almost abrupt when they would go into it too. Like it almost didn't seem like it should be there.
It didn't feel organic at all.
Yeah.
Let's face facts. The 80s was sort of the low watermark for the musicals. Musicals were like so done.
Yeah, even the animated Disney movies were having a really hard time. I mean, you had that Oliver and Company with Billy Joel. That was weird. I mean, I like that movie because I like Billy Joel, but it's weird. It's not a Disney movie.
I will say, with the exception of one musical, which I'm sure Eric already knows what I'm going to say. Or are you? Or do you?
I don't know.
Ouch.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, of course.
It was fun, but because that was it was like a mockery of the old musicals. It was almost like a spoof almost.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Streets of Fire, which is technically a musical, but that was different somehow. What had happened was Grease came out, and it was like. There's going to be a musical renaissance, and then Grease 2 came out, and everybody went, and I'm out.
No, there's not.
Well, anyways,
And we're done.
Well,
I'm out.
And it's gone.
Well, I didn't like either one of those movies, and then when I saw the second one, I was just like, "Oh gosh, my eyes are still bleeding," and no, my ears are bleeding, and then I couldn't get the brain bleed fast enough, and then Pons just brought it up now. Now I'm gonna have PTSD. Thanks.
You're welcome.
You mentioned Pink Floyd earlier. I like The Wall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
Wall was
awesome,
good.
though.
Yeah.
That's a rock opera. That's a rock.
That's
opera.
true.
That's
That's
a
true.
rock
That's
opera.
a rock opera, not a musical.
But like I was saying, one of my favorite musicals.
So does
of
that
all
make
time,
the Wizard of Oz a rock opera when you play it to the dark side of the moon? Anyway.
No, that just
If
makes
you
sense.
turned off the
Acid trip.
dialogue and played Dark Side of the Moon, then yes, it would be a rock opera.
I thought you were
rock
going to mention The Wiz, and I don't want to talk about The Wiz.
No.
Nobody does. It's not. No. No. I have an image to have told. That won't help.
Anyway, I think I'm going to cut this one a little bit short because I've got to go to the little boy's room. So
Are you going to the bog of eternal stench there?
yes, probably. But I was texting with Chrissy. She couldn't make it because she's out of town and she couldn't get the hotel Wi-Fi to work properly. So I've agreed with her that we're going to have a little addendum, just her and me. We're going to talk about these movies whenever she's home and she has a chance. It might be in the middle of the week. It'll be a weird time for me, but I want to do it. I want to talk because this was her idea to begin with, and she's not even here. So that will happen at some point. But
Yeah.
When you go to the bathroom, you should queue up the Bog of Eternal Stench portion on YouTube on your phone and play the audio really, really loud. Scare
It'll
the
be
family.
great. Make sure you film it too. It'd be awesome. Not you per se, but just
yeah, I'm not
everything
going to
else.
film in the bathroom. What are you talking about?
Well, I didn't mean the bathroom. Please don't do that. I don't do that.
And again, next week we're going to talk about movie songs. It'll be thrash as always, and Tracy and Chance. So yeah.
Oh
that'll be
yeah,
next
they're good people too. I
Music
know them.
and
They're good
movies.
people.
How could you not have me?
Exactly.
Right?
And that's one of those subjects
And-
that might be multiple entries. We might
And
talk
I'll
about
spend
it
half the show talking about Streets of Fire since we brought it up. You know.
All right, and then later on today we're having the Pawns Dan thing going on. Geek will be there. It'll be awesome.
All invited,
Yeah, well,
please. You guys
4 o'clock my time. Yeah, it's good. See you guys there.
Okay, and,
and I'm gonna have family in town for the next 2 weeks, so I probably won't be able to make it for the next one. Okay, so
I'll just keep you in the loop for next month.
Yeah.
So, okay. I gotta go. So I'm gonna hit the button.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you and good night.